Hello, friends. It's Chop.
They just have to step through the door. But then we have to ask, okay, then what is there? And it sounds cringe to say, but it's literally us. We have to, like, getting rid of faith in the Democratic Party does not mean getting rid of hope in anything. It means reinvesting, trying to reinvest that hope in something else, something more real than this Potemkin structure that is part of the machine that is destroying us.
I would agree with you to a certain extent, but then you also have to take into account the fact that no matter how many times Democrats will go ahead and try to meet the Republicans halfway, it was just like when they passed the Affordable Care Act. If you look at the Affordable Care Act, that was basically the biggest giveaway to private insurance companies and to the private sector, like in American history that they've ever accomplished, and it was basically the Newt Gingrich plan of the mid 90s. So they went ahead and went beyond the 50-yard line to go ahead and try and get Republicans on board, and not one of them supported. So I mean, it is difficult. I mean, Democrats are way too nice about this kind of thing. I mean, I can definitely sense the frustration with the party. And as someone who's been involved in Democratic politics for years, I pretty much like everything you said in terms of the structure of the party and the way they operate is true. But the resistance they're meeting is a brick wall. So, yeah. And then so that they're only.
Well, the reason that they can't overcome the brick wall, like, because it's like, yeah, they hit a brick wall. Okay, that's when you fight. You know, it's like that's supposed to be the beginning of conflict, is when you hit a brick wall. Like the compromise comes after you've tested strength, but the Democrats never do that. And that's because they are required structurally to disempower and disengage their base, whereas the Republicans are totally aligned around the alliance between their interests and their base's interests, which means that their base can always be deferred to and energized. That is an entire force that the Democrats cannot challenge. They have an arm tied behind their back ever since 2009, when Obama intentionally destroyed the incredible grassroots machinery that had powered his presidency or his presidential campaign. The Obama for America team, it was demobilized. They detonated it from within because that structure was now would have been a hindrance to their agenda in power, because it could have been used against them, because there is no alignment between the base of the Democrats and their party leadership that the Republicans have. So they will always be at that disadvantage, which means they always will seek the compromise before a test of strength, because they don't think they don't have the horses for it, which is why, even though the Republicans were actually kind of scared in January 6th, you could tell, like, the top level Republicans were looking like they were going to blink, but the Democrats put the fucking brakes on, because they were afraid that if they actually did anything, then the whole game's over. They're terrified of it because they have no strength to draw on if it comes to that.
Well, I was also talking about, like, what are some potential roadblocks for the Republicans, or like who may be working to undermine the Republicans in the midterms. I bring this up because I want to talk about Lindsey Graham's proposal of a federal national abortion ban.
Wow, baffling, honestly.
At 15 weeks, and it's just like, okay, look, and I'm with you on this, Tom. It's just, election predicting is a mug's racket. Like, I just like don't look at any of these polls. None of them make sense. Like, it's just like, who the fuck knows? But when I saw Lindsey Graham out there at a press conference proposing a national 15-week abortion ban.
And here you are introducing a nationwide 15-week ban. I'm wondering how you square those two statements.
Pretty easy. After they introduced the bill to define who they are, I thought it'd be nice to introduce a bill to define who we are. So I look forward to the debate. I look forward to the vote. If we take back the House and the Senate, I can assure you we'll have a vote on our bill. If the Democrats are in charge, I don't know if we'll ever have a vote on our bill.
I have to say, my first thought was, despite the fact that, like, he used to be an anti-Trump guy that became an obsequious toady for Trump, I gotta think on some level, or at least, like, I think it's not beyond the realm of possibility that, like, Lindsey, Mitch McConnell, people like that, they're putting Lindsey out there to do this national abortion ban shit, particularly to tank the Republicans' chances of what should be a fucking layup for them.
Because when you look at the leaks coming out of the Senate, the Democratic committee, the Senate campaign committee, all those leaks about Peter Thiel and McConnell fighting over who's going to fund Ohio and Arizona and shit. Yeah, they are absolutely sandbagging this. By the way, McConnell also sandbagged Trump before the election in 2020. Like, he is trying to beat this thing down any way possible, and I think Lindsey is absolutely on board with that.
Because if you're wheeling out, okay, first of all, if this midterm election becomes a referendum on abortion, like, that's the worst thing that could happen for the Republicans.
Fucked. That's the only way they could really blow this.
If it's a referendum on Biden and the Democratic Party and like inflation or gas prices or something like that, the Democrats they're fucked.
The Brandonization of the American economy.
But if they're wheeling out Lindsey fucking Graham to tell the women of America that it's time to vote on a 15-week abortion ban, it's like isn't there one Republican pro-life woman that they could get out to talk about this shit instead of Lindsey Graham? And I think like
a Republican with kids.
Because if the Republicans fail to take the Senate, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be one of these things that will demand a reckoning within the party, and then like the party leaders will be like, okay, now it's time. Now we have a cudgel. We have something to like beat down, like the MAGA wing of the party or whatever. So, like, I mean,
there is one thing I will say though. I'm becoming more bearish on the Democrats in the Senate, even, because I'm kind of wondering if there might be a bit of a peak here for the Democrats, and that they peak maybe a little too soon, because the thing is, the Brandon economy is still going to be going strong in November, whereas as much as abortion has obviously changed the playing field in races until now, it will still be that much farther away. And yes, Graham putting this in there certainly raises the salience, but it's still something that's sort of been worked out a little bit further. Maybe it becomes less dominant. I don't know. The polls are looking, who knows about polls anymore? I don't know. And I kind of, at this point, assume any poll that isn't like a right-wing one is also just unconsciously skews Democrat. So I don't know.
I do. Going back a little bit to the leaks, the most salient thing to me, not necessarily like the Thiel McConnell leaks, but like the leaks about Rick Scott going on vacation and doing a shitty job with the NRSCC. Like, those were like, 2 months early, which, like, I don't know, maybe portends, as Matt said, like peaking early, because usually you get those kind of leaks from like the Senate re-election committee when, it's a week before and they know they're going to.
Yeah, exactly.
But I have the opposite opinion on polls. I think like polls in general can skew Republican. There are some states that are like very difficult to poll, Wisconsin being a great example, where they skew like who fucking knows. But I don't know, like, okay, like it could be a Brandon referendum. That's very possible. But I don't see like a galvanizing force for Republicans outside of like the special master, or not having the special master.
Oh boy, the special master, a real game changer there.
Yeah. No. I don't know. I mean, that is a very interesting theory about Lindsey Graham, though. That they sent him out to tank him because, okay, Tom, you brought up the point about how Republicans used to be more normal, so to speak. I think we probably disagree on what that normalness meant. Like, okay, for me, the normalness meant like they were a freakish party still, but like you can agree on things like funding the government more or less. You can agree on like how many weapons we'll send to Syria, that sort of thing.
Violence against women, the Violence Against Women Act. They used to agree on that. They can't even do that anymore.
Well, that was what, like 45 years ago? I don't know. Like that did like that is an example. I don't know.
I think they last agreed to do it. They last agreed to do it in like 2006 or something like that. I know George W. Bush was still president at the time when they last.
Exactly.